Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TC Talk, back today with another video. In today's video, we're going to be doing a full recap of the Calling Kansas City, how each day went down, how the top 8 shook out, as well as talk about some of the data with the matchups, what heroes performed, overperformed, or underperformed, and then eventually we will talk about the Gravy Dilemma. Some people are calling for bans, some people are saying it's fine. I'll get your thoughts on here, and then I'll also give mine as well. But if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hopefully you enjoy your stay. If you're a long-staying supporter, thank you so much as always. Feel free to check out all the stuff down below. I have my Discord. I will be doing a spoiler next month in September for Super Slam. Super excited about that. So if you want to get down there, get some discussion going, I'd really appreciate it. If you want to check out the channel membership, you can. But if not, that is completely fine. It is not expected at all. And then finally, and the most important one, the creator worksheet is down below. Definitely go give that a look. There's over like 100 plus creators on there, and I'm constantly trying to add to it for people that cover Flesh and Blood. So if you're new to the game and you want kind of a repository of content creators, it's even categorized. It'll hopefully help you out. But we'll get into it. The Calling Kansas City. This was a very big event. So in my opinion, in terms of kind of like where the meta is. This was the first major event post High Seas release where people actually had time to kind of explore the meta fully, right? Like at the Pro Tour, we had Gravy Bones come out, but it was like right after, right? Pretty much. And, you know, there's this time in the meta where people start to adjust, like truly adjust, and try to, you know, poke holes and find little niches that they can exploit, so on and so forth. Then you start to see, like, you know, if a hero consistently stays popular or not, all that kind of stuff. So the Calling Kansas City was really big for that. And this is the hero day 1 breakdown. So first and second, no surprise at all. Gravy Bones followed by Arachne Slip Through the Cracks. Those are the two best decks in the format. It's from, I think, overall, right, complete perspective in terms of popularity, in terms of power, and matchup spread. They are the two best decks in the format. No one's going to argue that. The one that I was very surprised about is Ira. I'm going to sidebar here for a second on Ira. I love Ira, right? Obviously. I'm very, biased towards the hero. I think the hero is okay positioned, but I think a lot of people, and this is obviously like so easy for me to say this as someone who didn't go, so take it with how you want, but I think a lot of people massively overestimated how good Ira actually is in this meta, and I think they were a little bit too hyper-focused on like her matchup in the Gravy Bones towards the beginning of the High Seas meta, and have it, maybe not every player, right? It sounds like a blanket statement. It's not meant to sound that crazy, but I think a lot of players were just kind of going off matchup data from like a month and a half ago, instead of like what it is now. Because if you look at Ira, I don't think she is in a good enough spot in any sense to be the third most represented deck. I would have put her down where Acilio and Kasai are, maybe even like Marionette, because if you go like line by line, the Gravy matchup when High Seas first released was very like favored, right? It was almost like a cakewalk, and then like every board state deck, they start to get more and more refined. They start to figure out the deck. They start to figure out how they need to play into things and their bad matchups. And eventually they just get cleaner. And the matchup is still favored, but it's not what it used to be. It used to be like the Gravy like would have to play perfect and you'd have to mess up to lose. Now, I would say the matchup is like 60-40. It might actually be like a point or two less. That's just my opinion. And if you look at the data on like Fabulazing over the past month at calling in higher level events, in the Pro Tour and stuff, and even the Bauhardens, that data shows it's like a 60-40 matchup. So Ira, the reason you play her right now, ideally, is to combat Gravy, and even then, it's not like a shoe and win, which is really interesting. Arachne Slipped Through the Cracks, except for one weird event where Ira did really well into them, is very unfavored. I think it's like 40-60 if I had to give a pick. Verdance, also unfavored. You know, then you have Syndra. We're going down the line here of like most represented heroes of this event. You have Syndra. It's a straight 50-50 in my opinion. Dash.io, straight 50-50. Might be slightly favored. Acilio, unfavored. Kasai, unfavored. So like if you look at the top 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 decks that were represented here, Ira is unfavored into 4 of them. In Arachne Slipped Through the Cracks for Dance, Acilio, and Kasai, and then she's 50-50 into 2 of them, Syndra and Dash.io, and then favored into Gravy. that to me doesn't sound like the third most represented deck. I won't go into this. I'll get off my soapbox with that. I was just very surprised to see her the third most represented deck because I do not think she is anywhere close to that in the metagame, and I kind of stand by that pretty firmly. But regardless, she was the third most represented. She converted terribly, which we'll talk about here in a second, and I think what I just explained is why. For Dance, I expected her to be the third most represented deck. It's so funny. Look at the data here for a second. Verdance stays at having one of the best. This is the Calling Kansas City overall win rate for Heroes. In 222 matches, Verdance had a 54% win rate. That's really good. Like when you talk about like these top two decks, like Arachne Slip Through the Cracks feels pretty good, but it's not like super great. Like if you look at her, we can even just look at her Gravy matchup is sitting at about 25% win rate, right? And then her Arachne Slip Through the Cracks matchup is very good, right? So she's kind of like preying on one side of the meta, so to speak. But she's consistently had good performances like event to event. And then going down, none of these are too crazy. Acilio is slowly creeping up in representation because the deck is just straight up good now. I think, it's a very difficult deck to pilot. And overall, if we look at the win rate, Acilio actually had the fourth best win rate. And if you look at like total matches, technically had the like first or second best win rate if you like count heroes with over 100 matches. So it's just a good solid deck now. So it makes sense. Kasai also creeping up there. A lot of people have been like slowly trying to work with Kasai and Fang. Those are two heroes, as you can see here, that are slowly getting more and more popular because of their matchup spread. And then it kind of goes down from there. I expected to see a couple more Victor than I did. I know the Gravy matchup is abysmal, but with all the new toys, I just thought, or even just Test of Iron Grip, I thought people were going to like be a little more excited to play the hero. And it kind of goes down from there. The other really notable part is I don't remember the exact math. I'm not going to sit here and count every one, but it's over 30 heroes represented. I think it's like 32, 33. My ADHD really wants to count them right now, but I won't. We even had like Arachne Huntsman, 2 Arachne Huntsman, which is awesome, 2 Bravo, a Max, 2 Teklevossen, and a Calling, which is really, really cool. So really excited about that. But that's how the day one metagame looked. Day 2, this is how it shook up. So 29% of Gravies had conversion into day 2. It's pretty decent, not like insane, but not bad. Arachne Slip Through the Cracks a little bit lower. So both of those heroes, even though they're the top 2, they were probably kind of knocking each other out a little bit. Verdance, as per usual, had a very good conversion rate into day 2. She's been consistently doing this event to event. And then Syndra also got a little bit better from last event. Last event, if anyone remembers, especially at the Pro Tour, just had abysmal conversions, but did really, really good here comparatively, right? And then we look at Ira. This is what I wanted to talk about. So 31 Iras in day 1, only 4 of them made day 2. 13% conversion rate. That is the worst, I think, other than with the 1 Vincent and Valda and then the 1 Dio. So, like, I guess Dio technically had by far the worst. That's actually pretty nutty. 24 Dios in day 1, only 1 made day 2, and that was Connor Bryant, who top 8'd. So Ira, again, not doing as well. Fang and Prism doing pretty well. Acilio not doing too bad. Kind of goes from there. A couple Kanos lying around. And the 1 Levia. At the end of day 1, I think that Levia was 6-1, I think it was. It was either 6-1 or 5-2. Ended up doing really well, which is really cool to see. So this is how the top 8 shook out. Again, the 1 Dio that made day 2, Connor Bryant. Andrew Blackwell used to be a local of ours, ended up getting the number 1 overall seed, which is really cool. Jago Commence, a lot of really well-known names in here. Guy Cohen was another kind of breakout performance. I think Guy started like 11-0 or 10-0, ended up only losing 1 round in Swiss, playing against Matthew Renz, Evan Herndon, and then Austin Henson. So really, really cool matchups. Connor Bryant ended up beating Andrew Blackwell in his top 8 match. Jago Clements ended up winning his. So on one side of the bracket, we had a Dio and a Gravy. And then on the other side of the bracket, Guy ended up getting, Matthew had the most ridiculous combo turn. It was like, I think if he would have been allowed to, he killed Guy before the turn was done. But if he would have been allowed to finish the turn, it would have been like, I think it was like a 53 damage turn. He ended up having like a double blast, triple, like insane triple Gone to Flash turn, and ended up drawing into a spell a Mind Warp that eventually would have hit for like 16. It was just ridiculous. So Guy got blown up, just absolutely obliterated, and nothing Guy could do about it. And then Evan Herndon ended up winning his Gravy Mirror. So in the top 4, we had a Dio, a Gravy, a Cilio, and another Gravy. Now, what the interesting thing about this was, and this is one thing people were pointing out, and this is where we start the ban discussion, right, is Gravy is starting to do very well into the bad matchups, or like, relatively well. Because if you look at this top 8, you would think that, like, this is really bad for Gravy. You have a Cilio, which is pretty good in the Gravy. You have Dio, pretty good in the Gravy. You have Prism, which most people look at as almost like a free matchup. I don't think it's quite free anymore, but it is very, very favored. And then you have like Fang, who Guy obviously built that deck to combat Gravy Bones. So all of these, if Matthew and Guy wouldn't have been matched up, a Gravy would have been matched into a bad matchup at every single point. So for like Jacob Clements to beat Prism and then beat Dio to get to the finals was pretty significant. Evan Herndon ended up getting to the finals. So we had Jacob Clements, who's number 1 in Europe in the World Tour points, versus former U.S. national champion Evan Herndon. Evan ended up taking it in the Gravy Bones mirror, and Gravy ended up winning the calling. So this kind of goes back to the ban discussion. Before this event, I was very much like no bans. I thought the meta, we just came off the back of a Pro Quest season and a Pro Tour with like one of the most wide open metas from a sheer stat perspective that we've ever had. So I just erred on the side of let the meta play out. Let's see what people can exploit. After this meta and seeing Gravy do so well into their bad matchups, I could understand like a Bullseye Bracers like ban equivalent for Gravy, where maybe they ban like Blue Saltwater Swell or Red Swell, or maybe they ban like, Blue Tipple or something like that. I'm hoping that maybe September 1st they give Gravy just kind of like, a little nudge ban. I don't want them to like undercut the deck or make it bad, or just like give it a big hit like Chum or something. I don't think that's necessary. I do think like just give it a little bit of a consistency hit with like the Swell or something. I think that would be completely fine, because Gravy had a 55% win rate despite having 443 matches. And you got to look at like the bad matchups and see like how he is faring into those. So in the Syndra, which is mostly a bad matchup or is perceived as a bad matchup, had a 46% win rate, was literally 1 win away from being, being 50-50. Then you have like Ira, which most people perceived as favored, heavily favored for Ira. It actually had a favored win rate into Ira, which is pretty significant, right? Dio, 1 win away from being 50-50. Let's look at other ones here. The other big ones. So you have Dio, and Prism was another one we'll look at. Prism, what most people considered to be like auto win, is 12-15, 44%. So you can see like the bad matchups are literally like 45% for Gravy right now. And if I go over here, sorry, I got to do it this way. Dio 45%, even Dory, which is considered like really, really good for Dorinthia, was at 3-5, right? Like, so like, what's its bad matchups? If we look through here, its worst matchup, I guess, was technically Dorinthia at 37% because it went 3-5. But its worst significant matchup, I guess, was Fang at 21%. So Fang did do really well. But other than that, like, the hero is starting to get to a point in terms of efficiency where its bad matchups are like 45%, which, that I understand now, or I can understand people wanting to see a slight hit to the hero. So I do think we'll see a small hit on September 1st at the ban restricted announcement. I think we'll get like a Swell or a Tipple. Maybe they'll go in a different direction, but I don't think it'll be like a Chum-like ban. I think it'll be like, a kind of smaller hit. But let me know what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear it. Really excited to see how these next couple of events go. We do have a slew of events this month for the World Tour. We still have a couple Battle Hardens. We have Calling Copenhagen. We have Skirmish season coming up, which is really cool. I know our locals are doing mostly Living Legend for that. Battle Harden Phoenix, Battle Harden Orlando, before we head into September for another set of events. So let me know what your thoughts are down below. What do you think of the meta? The one thing I'll say, if people are still watching 14 minutes into this, is like, you don't have to like Gravy just try to like be like productive about the discussion. Trust me, I am the king at venting into the freaking ether when it comes to social media, especially about Flesh and Blood. I've shot myself in the foot a couple times doing it, right? But I've learned like just try to be like not, I guess positive is the word, but more so just constructive, not even positive. Like just seeing YouTube chat the last couple events, I haven't. Maybe it's just because the game's growing and we're getting a wider audience, and it's just like esports where like, you know, stream chats are cursed, but like it's just like constant complaining. It's a little tiring. This was the first event where like I just shut chat. Like after day one, I just closed the chat in YouTube and didn't even read it hardly, other than a couple choice times, because it's just all it is people complaining. But that's just my opinion. You're definitely free to do what you want, regardless. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are down below. What do you think of the event? Are you excited for skirmish season? What are you playing right now? Right now, I am playing Arachne Huntsman. Been super having fun with this deck. It's became my favorite deck in Flesh and Blood. I posted about it on Twitter and Blue Sky earlier today. It's just like my favorite deck. I love it so much, despite its meta position. I'd rather go 1-3 at an armory playing this deck, or even playing this deck, than win an armory with a deck I don't enjoy as much. So been really having fun with that. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are down below. Love to hear it. Thank y'all so much for watching this. If you like this type of content, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. If not me, it's completely fine. That's why I have the creator worksheet down below. Go check out somebody else. Go give somebody else some love in this game. Let's get more people seeing it. And I'll see y'all next time on TC Talk. Thank y'all so much.